Well, good day, good day, good day. And I'm going to welcome you all to a morning of all for success. Testing. I'm wondering if you can hear me out there. Put a one in the chat over there if you can hear what I'm saying. I'm getting messages about a little bit of low bandwidth. So I just want to double check and make sure I mute. So, how is everybody this morning? Everyone doing okay? All right. Welcome, 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 and come on in to the chat. Thank you, and good day. It's good to see some of you. I see I have a wonderful good morning from, it looks like Dore Wiley. Thank you so much for being here, and good morning. Thank you so much for being here, and good morning. Okay, so everyone start making your coffee as we get set up here. Get yourself settled in and ready for some wonderful, wonderful moment of chat time. I am still trying to sort myself out and making sure I can be heard. Good, good, good. All right. Well, it does look like the only difficulty I might have right now is I may not be able to see or respond to your chats or text in the comment section immediately. But I am so glad that you guys get an opportunity to send me a message here or there. I do enjoy reading them, and when I get an opportunity, I respond back. And I love reading any of the comments down below. So, once again, I want to say good morning again back to Dore Wiley. I think I'm saying that right. And thank you for being here this morning on All for Success. We have another good morning, good day for that is to Keen for Concepts, and I know that is a very nicely related channel. Thank you so much for being here this morning. So, everyone else, come on in, and take a look at the coffee being made. Sit down and make yourself a cup of coffee just like that one, okay? Because we're going to have a little bit of a morning chat. As I always say, I don't plan to stay here too long and take up your entire morning, but sometimes I go a little bit long. So, welcome to this wonderful Sussex friendly channel. And we're hoping that all of you will enjoy your time that you spend here. So, as you get your coffee ready, I know you got to get prepared for whatever errands you need to run. So, I'm hoping that either you're lacing up your tennis shoes and getting ready to go out for a walk or a run during the time of my chat, or if you're on a treadmill, that you can listen while you do that, because we want to encourage each other to constantly try to keep ourselves moving and staying fit. Now, of course, if you prefer to just sit and drink your coffee during this time, that's good too. We would love to have that happen as well. All right, so I'm going to start to gather my slides together, and I want to tell you guys thank you all again. Thank you all again for being here. And I think it's wonderful if you have any exercise that you'd like to give us a tidbit on how you're doing, how you're coming along in your exercise journey. I love to encourage others because it encourages me. So I can't type below today. I don't know why. I've got to figure that out. But I wasn't able to type below how I was able to get my walk in this week. But this time I didn't get in as far of a walk or as often. I only walked one day this week, unfortunately, about 2 miles. And that is because in the area that I live in, we kept getting bad weather. The weather just turned upside down on us. It got really, really cold. And so I like to go outside and walk around, but we weren't able to do that as comfortable as we usually are. And so we also had a little bit of snow. So I took some time off and I said, okay, well, I'll at least walk one day. But I have been trying to do a little bit of stretching and exercising while inside the house. So I want to encourage you all to do the same, because sometimes you just have to go to that secondary method to get in a little bit of your exercise. So I did a little bit of lunges and what I would call the equivalent of, in the old days, deep knee bends, but I don't do anything fast. I don't do anything abrupt, because I have to be a little bit more careful holding on to my back pain as much as I do. But I try to do things that don't make that worse. So I encourage you all, if you can't get out and about, then perhaps do a little bit of stretching while you're in the house. So we're going to encourage each other. And please drop in the comment section, if you have a chance, what you did this week, and encourage us to try and do what you're doing, because I love the opportunity to try out new exercise opportunities if I get the chance. Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah, just stay fit, everybody. Stay absolutely fit. So let's begin with, once again, we are going to celebrate, at least for this week, whenever we have an appearance scheduled, something public from our wonderful Sussex family, because we are a Sussex friendly channel here. And by that, I do mean we, unlike many people that you are flipping through and hearing comments from, we don't find a need to be negative or disruptive towards the couple, Harry and Meghan, and their two children. We tend to look at things in a positive light for the situation that they found themselves in, and for their method of trying to deal with it and perhaps change their lives. Now, for all of those of you who do follow the UK antics and the UK royal family situation, you are aware that, one of the number one crimes you can commit in the royal family is to look at them and say, no, we don't want to do this. For them, that is that is equivalent to, in the United States, committing a high crime and misdemeanor. To look at the royal family and say, yeah, I don't want this. So that for them is just horrifying. But this week we did have a wonderful public appearance, and that is due to the fact that Harry was nominated into the organization called Legends, Living Legends, by the way, of Aviation, because these are people who have either performed something interesting that supports the field of aviation, or they are in the pilot arena, they're pilots, or they are in technology that promotes aviation. So he has been inducted into this arena, and luckily for him, he was able to um, be asked to come to a ceremony last night where he could be presented with that honor. And I want to say we must congratulate him on being able to be in that place, to enjoy that opportunity. I am always happy, happy, happy to celebrate anything that Harry is doing that gives him, I would say, a great honor or support in what he is doing. And the Living Legends of Aviation is that. So they mentioned the fact that although he is a pilot, he flew Apache helicopters, and the training for that is a little bit tricky because it is a combat type helicopter. They mentioned that, but they also mentioned the fact that Harry is a member of several organizations like Travelist and the eco-friendly type of organizations and support. And they talked about his philanthropy only for a very short moment. And then they definitely pointed out the fact that he is the founder of the Invictus Games. And so that was absolutely a wonderful thing to have under his belt, because his work in the arena with the veterans and mental health and the physical challenges of veterans is phenomenal, as we saw with the Invictus Games in Germany. So that being said, he did receive that award, and we must mention, however, that it was unfortunate. I'm flipping back and forth through the slides, just the old articles with Megan in them, because unfortunately, we did not get to see her um, present herself. She was unable to attend. Now, they stated that she was unable to attend due to the fact that one of the children did not feel well. So I don't know if that is, cough, cold, flu season, or if it was maybe they didn't want to settle down perhaps with someone else, and or it might also be the strategy, and I'm just going into this from the headspace, that perhaps there is a strategy of, if there is something that's going on for Harry, that he be out front and kind of perform that in a solo environment, so that Megan might not, her appearance may not subtract from or add to negative statements and negative things being hurled at her just because she attended the ceremony with Harry. So that could be a possibility. And I do wonder that uh, when it comes to him. So I always say, that we must maintain our support of this family as much as possible. And I feel very, very good about doing that, because they just seem like good people. So, although you all who are into the fashion arena, you did not get the opportunity to watch what she had on or check out her clothes for this wonderful event, I am so, so sorry that you missed out, but I have a feeling we're going to see Megan pop up at something in the near future, because that seems to be how they are operating, which is really lovely. So, at the wonderful ceremony, he did receive that award. And what was really nice is he had a moment to give a short speech to thank them for having him come by. And I mean, you know how it is. We all just love that. So I'm gonna have to pass him an applause myself for just doing that. So I always think that's great. Just, add that applause in for him just because we can. It was wonderful. Now, the people who put the program together, and there's a wonderful photo of him with another pilot that was on an honoree. And what was really wonderful about this is the presenter of this award is John Travolta. I don't know if many of you remember him. Of course, I'm always telling on myself, because as a parent, I always say this, the reason Harry and Meghan are so intriguing to me is I'm a parent of adult children as well. And I think of Harry and Meghan basically being in that arena where they could be my children in a sense, because you have children who are adults. But back in the day, John Travolta was known for all of his feature films, and Saturday Night Live was one of his most popular, where he was a super dancer, moving all around and jumping around on film. And John Travolta is the one that was presenting that award, Living Legends. What's fun about this is John Travolta, many years ago, had actually met Princess Diana. And there was a White House function at the time, and he was invited to attend. And it just so happened that he asked her to dance. And I'm sure many people weren't thinking about doing that. They were probably a little timid. And of course, Princess Diana, being the type of person that she is, she obliged. And this was definitely a moment that was caught on camera, on film, everywhere. And it was talked about for a long time. So it was wonderful, that wonderful, wonderful full circle event where here's John Travolta nowadays, and he's presenting and presiding at this wonderful organization, and they present this actual award to Diana's son. I mean, everyone talked about how intriguing it is for them to make that big loop, and the people that he actually is interacting with these days had met his mother. I think that's just phenomenal. And it is wonderful for him to have that chance to meet some of the people who actually knew his mother. So we're going to definitely give a thumbs up on that because it was great. So, okay, I'm going to back up. I'll get back to that in a moment. So, as we're sitting here, the one or two things that I wanted to touch on today that's outside of all of the let's celebrate all the wonderful things that Harry was doing, because I love to do that. Let's celebrate the wonderful time Harry had at this award ceremony, and the fact that he did a great job at the ceremony. We also had the intriguing aspect of what is happening in the UK with the royal family on the underside. Now, here's how I approach everything I talk about on my channel. I told you guys, and I don't know what this means, but I try to tell you that I try to come at these things from a more not exactly positive point of view, because there's not really one when you are discussing how the royal family and the UK media tabloids behave. However, I would encourage each of us to try to maintain a little bit of composure. In other words, try not to take in some of this assault into your own day to day emotional normalcy. Try to keep the way you are watching what is happening as if you were observing it from a distance, sort of like watching a television show. Often I approach much of what goes on with the UK royal family and the tabloid media from the perspective of watching a soap opera, because I think about the old soap operas that my mom used to watch. One of her favorites was Guiding Light. I don't know if any of you all are familiar with it because it finally did go off the air. But actually, that soap opera and other ones like General Hospital, these things run forever. The soap opera is continuous, the soap opera never ends. And so my mom would just be so enthralled by every little detail of what was happening with all of the people in these soap operas. Well, the royal family and their shenanigans is very much a soap opera. And I think we have to, as much as very few things that they do make sense, we have to also observe it as if we are watching a soap opera. The institution itself was only formed basically to keep our attention sometimes off of what was actually happening in what we call our real world. Um, that, in a sense, was the purpose of the mystique and the allure of the royal family. I mean, when you think about civilization and how it's organized, there are several methods of operation. I mean, royal families are one. The number two was all of the religious institutions. And then I think one of the third was the military. So in the essence and the operation of civilization, you had those three institutions that basically organized how everyday man was going to be living. So across the pond this week, we were given the list of illnesses and reasons for people being out of the limelight for the next couple of months. Now, I know for those of you who are following a lot of what's going on, it was announced that Princess Kate, for whatever reason, the details were a little bit soft, is that she was going to go in the hospital. She actually had surgery, and now she's going to be recuperating somewhere up to 3 months now, or around Easter time. Now, they may change their mind, but they wanted to put that out there that basically they're going to clear her calendar of engagements all the way through, um, all the way through till Easter. Now, I think that's quite a bit. You know, I mean, I think that's a long time, but there are several things that you could be dealing with that might, in fact, require your recuperation to last that long. And many people have speculated on what they think the possibilities could be. But I'm going to throw out several other things, and I'm sure people in the back corners are thinking this, but maybe not saying it. You know, generally, when you have an illness of that magnitude, usually it's going to definitely be a lot of information around it, especially for these high profile individuals. Now, I'm thinking that it's possible that she simply may be exhausted. She may be feeling overwhelmed, as well as maybe being ill or having to deal with something medical. They're constantly trying to make her operate in a place where she is in constant competition with her counterpart over here, Megan. And because that is not the world that Kate came from, no matter how much she tries, no matter what she does, and no matter what stories are told in the media to support her, she simply cannot be this person. Now that's on the front side. But because of, again, being a parent of adult children and understanding or seeing things in the world in the past, if I were to speculate, or let's say I'm going on a hunch, my speculation watching the royal family operate the way that they do would lead me to believe that there is a greater conflict going on in their household. My hunch is telling me more. It's more of a leaning, of course I could say alleged, right? But it's just a hunch. It's not something that I can point to. It's more of a feeling that her sudden illness after the holidays, which will give her a break of at least 3 months, scrapping all the plans that they had, which I think they were supposed to travel to Italy and do some sort of jaunt. But I have this feeling that the folks in and around her are either trying to keep out of the limelight something else that might be going on as far as conflict in the household, or that there is definitely some sort of conflict between her and her husband, which is Prince William. That there is probably something that has sprung into the forefront that is causing a greater amount of distress. Thus, she's got to come out of the picture. Now, that could be any number of things swirling around that might have caused this issue. Now, they have the Epstein situation / Prince Andrew issue. And we know the UK media, they don't want to even mention Prince Andrew ever. They don't want to write stories about him. They don't want to write stories speculating about him and Mr. Epstein, who and his situation and what they call Epstein Island. They don't want to have any conversation about that whatsoever. So they are throwing into the media space any and everything but Prince Andrew. Okay, so maybe this is a distraction because they layered right on top of that announcement about Princess Kate going into the hospital. Before the ink had dried in the newspaper announcements and all over the tabloids, the next announcement they made was that the king himself was going to be going into the hospital for a procedure. Now, that's a whole lot of hospital announcements. And just the same, likewise, he's going to be out of pocket for a while. Now, they didn't give us the amount of time that he was proposing to be out of the public arena, but it seems to be about the same time period. So he's going to have some recuperation time, and it looks like again, maybe he's going to do a little bit less until say Easter or so. So here's what we're looking at, or here's what I thought we were looking at. I thought we were going to be looking at the wonderful, wonderful blazing entrance of the superhero Prince William to the rescue to then demonstrate how much of a king he is going to be, and he's going to come to the forefront and do all of this wonderful thing. And then, wait for it, what did the UK tabloid put out? Oh no, Prince William, we actually wrote a news story that Prince William is going to attend his wife and help with the kids and check in on his wife. Now, I find that very interesting. I can't tell you all how interesting all that sounds. So basically, what they're saying is Kate is in the hospital. She's going to recuperate till at least Easter, wiping her calendar clear. The king is going in for his procedure, so we'll see the king light, right? And then the person that you thought would be coming into the limelight because everyone else is out of pocket, Prince William, the future king, no, he's not going to come out of the pocket. He's actually going to step back and quiet down a little bit as well because he's going to support his wife and watch his kids. Now, boys and girls, men and women, I'm talking to the audience. Something smells a little bit odd. And to me, all of this indicates, aside from the illness, I'm sensing an additional conflict going on in the background. I'm sensing some sort of distraction as we try to figure out how to cover up or hide or negotiate our way out of what might be percolating and boiling up in the background. At least that is my feeling, folks. Now, you can tell me if I'm wrong. Am I on the wrong track? You can tell me, hey, you know what? You're exaggerating. You're what do you call it? I'm having conspiracy moments. But I can't help but to say something about this is very odd. Okay? And then, of course, in the meantime, we want to make sure we tell everyone in the UK that there's no chance of Harry being called upon to step in any way. Okay? We want to make sure we let everyone know that you don't have to worry. Harry's off the list of people to contact in any way when it comes to the royal family. Okay? They made sure they had to say that. And the beautiful thing about Harry is I believe he's a man of finality, that he stepped away You've indicated you don't want him anywhere within your world. And I think he has decided, okay, I'm good to go and I'm going to make my way where I am. But of course, they can't help themselves. They cannot help themselves. That they cannot help themselves but make every single news story, commentator, tabloid, talk TV. They cannot even announce that the king is going to the hospital without somehow weaving in a way to mention Harry and Meghan. They couldn't even have a conversation about Kate going to the hospital for surgery without also mentioning and weaving into their story Harry and Meghan. For the UK royal family and the UK tabloid media, they cannot operate in any way, shape, or form without mentioning Harry and Meghan. So here's the thing, because I think this is actually the key to what might be actually going down. I think they're running into some problems, and they know that their time is very short. And I believe that they have come to this understanding that they're not going to be able to hide for very much longer, and that they're not able to really trick people who are paying attention to what is going on. And I truly believe that what they're doing is trying to figure out and regroup on how they're going to maintain all of their, I don't know, showmanship of the royal family, right? Because to all of us watching this from the sidelines, we're all absolutely aware of the fact that none of this is reality, right? We can tell. We can see that there is absolutely no reason whatsoever for the royal family to operate the way they do. So listen, I'm going to take a quick break here, and I want to let you all know and remind you guys again, please, please, please like, share, and subscribe. Please join this channel if you want to, and then you can get notifications of when I'm going to be online and doing a live. Generally, I am once a weekend. So share, like, and subscribe. And again, please forgive me because I'm not able to quickly get back in the comments while I'm online. But I will, I promise you, definitely plan to read and see these things in the future. So let's look at, once again, Doree Wiley. She says, he says, I think, she, maybe, trust and believe God is on the move, and he has kissed Harry and Meghan, and he will take care of them. Amen. I'd like that. That's a prayer for Harry and Meghan. And I like the fact that you are looking at this from a very spiritual place, because there is a lot happening in and around this family, the royal family aside. And we can see how this conflict is actually playing out, and it's definitely giving us a viewpoint from the good versus evil standpoint. It's looking like there's cruelty on one side, and then there is uplift and enlightenment on the other side. That is what what it looks like, and it's very hard to deny that. And I think you are absolutely correct in, keeping them in our prayers and showing our support. And that is where I definitely am coming from. I am like anyone. I'm looking at a young couple, they're no different than my children, right? They've got a young family, new family, and they're trying to make their way. And instead of making things a little bit less complicated, we're doing things in their life where we're purposely conducting ourselves as a family in a manner that makes it more difficult for them. Now, I mean, just, can you wrap your head around why you would do that as a family? But there is truth in the royal world. There is an absolute truth in the royal world that, the way that they are organized, I mean, and let's face it, the way that the royals are organized, in general, when they have children, the children fight amongst themselves and in the past would kill each other and slaughter each other's families so that they would not have any competition in rising to the throne. So it's not surprising, it's not totally surprising that this is the modern day version of that. You know, the modern day version of it, I guess, would be to kill you in the press, destroy your opportunities, and, try to make sure that you have no support and that you're a man without a country if possible. After all, that is the way that royalty has fought throughout the years, especially in stories of, oh, and I just watched this on Netflix. You guys got to check it out. Um, the Ottoman Empire, because there is an absolute example of how they fight and actually go to war with each other in the family in order to rise to the top. And definitely it was a custom in the Turkish world that the older brothers might have to kill their younger brother if they thought he was trying to become king. It definitely happened. So that type of family loyalty is something we probably, who are not in the royal family, would have a hard time understanding. But it is known throughout their existence that if you don't take the throne via a legitimate reason, then it's very possible you may have to execute people along the way. And it's sad, but that is true to their royal life. So, anyway, I'm not going to, like I told you guys, I promised I wasn't going to go on and on forever, but I did want to talk about that and mention how I think these hospital visits and hospital stays and recuperation periods lasting until Easter, that this is what I'm intrigued by, because I have a feeling after maybe a couple of weeks, we're going to get a little bit more insight on what might be brewing in the background. And I have a feeling it's not that pretty. And then the other thing, this is the last thing I'm going to mention, and I know we've been talking about this, but I need to find out a little bit more on the legal side what the impact might be, was the fact that instead of continuing forward with this court case, this is just one smaller court case that Harry had proceeded with. Originally, he was suing the paper for defaming his character by having a discussion about his issues with the security. And he felt that they gave the impression that he was trying to deceive the UK public. So this particular case, for whatever reason, he decided not to pursue. Now, oddly, in the UK, it seems that this costs you. Like when you don't proceed with the case, you have to pay whatever the court costs are up to that point and so forth. So I'm not sure what would have prompted him to pull that case back. I am definitely going to keep an eye on that, because I'm wondering if one case being pulled back is an indicator that others might be pulled back, or is it an indicator that there's more merit in the other cases? So that is also a possibility. But I also am aware, and this is again going back to the Epstein, Prince Andrew, let's not talk about Prince Andrew's situation, is that within these documents and within all of these situations, what we are beginning to find is that there are people who have been named in and amongst these cases, especially dealing with Prince Andrew. There are names that are beginning to show up that are people that have connections to some of these other players that have not been mentioned. Now, we've all got the top 5 names. I mean, in the United States, every time you turn on the television, whenever they mention Epstein, they're going to make sure that they mention Bill Clinton. Okay, they're not going to let you have a story about Epstein without mentioning Bill Clinton. They're going to mention who else? I think it was Donald Trump, vaguely. They'll mention him vaguely. And then several other people, Naomi Campbell. There are certain names that every time they mention Epstein, they kind of bring their names up. But the interesting thing that is happening is they're beginning to draw lines in the stories, but these stories are in the back pages. But they're beginning to draw connections and lines to people who they're in the business world. They're in another arena. And these people are connected in other ways. For example, it did not occur to me until very recently that the very person who is currently in jail, her name is Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell, that she was actually from the UK. And get this, her father actually owned a media company. So I'm going to let that sink in with you for just a moment. And that she was somewhat friendly with several faces and figures that you have seen in the UK tabloid media in that space. Now, there may not be anything much about that, but the intriguing part of this is we're not hearing as much about Epstein, I think, as we should. And of course, if we talk about Epstein, then we have to talk about Prince Andrew. And if you keep talking about Prince Andrew and then you're talking about Epstein, well, eventually you're going to have to talk about all these other people that have been photographed with Epstein and Maxwell. And that's quite a few UK tabloid press personalities. And I would probably venture that that is also more royal family members other than Prince Andrew. So I want you all to keep that in mind as we go forward. And once again, let's give our wonderful living legend, the living legend of aviation, folks. Let's give him one more round of applause as we I tell you, that was just awesome. But anyway, here's what I want to say, and then we're going to wrap it up. And I want to let you all know once again, please like, share, and subscribe. And please enjoy the show that we're watching, but please don't let that stuff get inside and don't let it wound how you operate through the day. You just make sure you observe this as if you're watching a television show, okay? But just keep this in mind whenever you're reading these crazy articles from the UK media, that they have an agenda. The agenda is to control the masses. After all, that is the point of these organizations. Like I said, there's the institution of royalty, the institution of religion, and then there's the institution of the military. And they utilize these tactics in order to control the masses. The first one, of course, the first thing they always think about is to keep you afraid, right? Fear, that's one of the best tactics that they have, right? And then what would be the next one? Distraction. Always just keep throwing something at you, right? So that's why every time you turn on your television set or you flip over to a tabloid station, and of course I do this on YouTube or TikTok, you're scrolling along and there's social media everywhere and there's messages negative all over the place and someone's saying something bad about it's just all day distraction. Well, if you're doing that all day, and you're paying attention to this nonsense all day, then you're probably not paying attention to what's happening right in front of you. Okay. And then I don't know if I spelled that correctly. It looks really strange to me. Then the other thing they try to heap on you is entertainment. In Roman times, in the ancient times, they used to call this bread and circus, right? That was when they'd have the gladiator fights and the gladiator battles and throw people into the pits and have people chased by lions and all kinds of crazy because that kept you entertained and you weren't noticing what actually the leadership was doing, right? And before you knew it, they had taken all your money, spent it on something that you had no idea they were spending it on, and then disappeared, you know? And we kind of have an element of that happening in our realm. We've got lots of wars going on in all sorts of different places. But at the same time, right, we've got wonderful movies coming out, sports is going great, and celebrities are everywhere. So you have to think about that. You have to keep in mind whatever you read, whatever you take in, you have to keep yourself mindful of, well, just in case, what is it that I'm not looking at? So just keep that in mind. And then, of course, the final, if none of the stuff if 1 through 3 doesn't work, if none of those things work, then there's just simply force and violence to control the masses. And they really hate to resort to that because once that happens, it's similar to what's happening with Harry and Meghan. Once we start with the force manipulation and trying to be violent with you and threatening you, well, that removes the fake cover. That removes the curtain that everybody was hiding behind. Because once they step forward and just go straight to violence, well, you're no longer tricked or fooled. But it's obvious at that time that those in control no longer care. And that is what we're dealing with, in a sense, between the royal family and the current situation that they have, how they are handling the Sussex family. They've moved into a place of force and violence. They can't lie to you enough. They couldn't trick them. They couldn't keep them afraid. And so now they're just going to try to force them into situations that make them have to deal with them, right? Every time they turn around, there's another UK tabloid story about what Harry and Meghan are doing or should be doing and how. Force. Because they're slowly moving the curtain away from them. You're now able to see them for who they truly are. And that is, of course, not what they wanted. Right? And I think we're in a situation where perhaps if that's the case, where they're about to rip the mask off, then they may indeed be restructuring for that particular event. Right? So we will just have to wait and see. We have to stay mindful and stay focused. So those are the things that kind of support kingship, right? And it is kingship, which is what they are definitely trying to maintain, because that is the part of the institution of civilization that they are forming. And they're supposed to be providing a sense of national identity and stability. And you can read this definition here, and it's like they're supposed to maintain continuity. This is the reason that the royal families existed in the first place, right? They were actually supposed to serve a purpose. but they are having all kinds of issues doing that. They're having problems with that, you know, because instead of maintaining that exclusivity, they are sort of falling victim to the outside world, right? So that is where I'm going to leave you guys thinking about these definitions and thinking about how you need to stay focused and to try to stay positive as we navigate these times along with the Sussex family. Okay? So, lastly, folks, thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it that you spent some time with me. Get back out there and enjoy your walks, your rides, your strolls. And then we are going to move on into the Saturday that I have filled with doing errands. So, once again, let's all say 3 cheers to Harry for his hard work and all of the time that he spent becoming a living legend of aviation. All right, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much.